Welcome to a quiet space where time slowly brings its journey to a halt. Tonight, we will leave behind all the heavy worries and loud noises of the long day and embark on a warm, hypnotic journey to an island that seems perfectly, forever suspended in its beautiful past. Cuba awaits us. This is a place where classic cars glide softly through ancient, weathered streets, where the warm evening air is deeply filled with the familiar aromas of the ocean and rich, earthy tobacco, and where the long nights are entirely full of a deep, healing peace. Make yourself as comfortable as possible, take a deep, slow breath, close your heavy eyes, and allow this gentle Caribbean warmth to carry you safely away into a beautiful world of rest. If this quiet journey has helped your weary mind find its long-awaited peace, please allow us to become your constant, gentle guide into the beautiful world of dreams. Subscribe to our channel and softly press the bell, so you will never miss our upcoming atmospheric journeys. Your gentle like and subscription are the very best support for creating new, relaxing stories that will safely bring you quiet rest every single evening. And just before you finally close your heavy eyes, quietly share with us in the comments below which beautiful country you would like to travel to next time, whose distant, peaceful shores and quiet streets you would most like to explore in your dreams. We would be absolutely honored to create this special journey just for you. Stay safely with us, and may your sleep tonight be incredibly deep, perfectly safe, and absolutely, beautifully carefree. As you lie there, perfectly still in the quiet comfort of your room, allow the heavy, invisible weight of the day to slowly, gently, melt away from your shoulders. We are embarking on a long, unhurried journey tonight, traveling far across the dark, silent ocean, to an island that rests peacefully in the warm, swaying embrace of the Caribbean Sea. This is a place where the restless hands of the clock have surrendered their frantic ticking, a sanctuary where time itself has seemingly forgotten to move forward, choosing instead to linger endlessly in the soft, golden haze of a distant, beautiful era. The air that greets you here does not rush, it does not demand your immediate attention, rather, it breathes softly against your skin, arriving in slow, rhythmic waves that feel as comforting and familiar as warm, heavy velvet draped gently over your tired shoulders. Imagine the profound, deeply calming stillness of the late afternoon sun, as it begins its long, graceful descent toward the distant horizon, casting long, lazy pools of rich amber light across streets that have witnessed decades of unbroken, peaceful rhythm. Here, the sharp edges and loud demands of the modern world simply fade away, dissolving quietly into a distant, unimportant memory, completely replaced by the profound, grounding presence of a time that decided to stay. The island wraps you in a comforting, heavy embrace, holding you close within its warm, weathered arms. You can feel the quiet heat of the earth radiating gently upwards through the soles of your feet, a deep, ancient warmth that safely holds the whispered stories of 1,000 tranquil evenings exactly like this one. Breathe in slowly, deeply, and let the soft, fragrant night air fill your lungs completely. It carries with it the incredibly faint, sweet memory of ocean salt, mingling effortlessly with the rich, earthy whisper of dried tobacco leaves, curing softly in the hidden, emerald valleys that roll gently beyond the old city limits. This deeply complex scent is wonderfully grounding, feeling somehow older than the very cobblestones beneath you, gently pulling your mind deeper and deeper into a state of absolute, unwavering tranquility. As you begin to walk down the beautifully weathered stone pathways, you realize there is absolutely no hurry, no pressing destination demanding your arrival. Every single step is a soft, silent invitation to slow down your own heartbeat, to effortlessly match the slow, steady, comforting pulse of the island itself. The majestic buildings that line your path rise up around you like gentle, forgotten dreams, painted lovingly in soft, faded hues of mint, pale coral, muted yellow, and deep, warm ochre, their original brightness gently softened by countless years of warm tropical sun and whispering sea mist. They stand together as silent, deeply beautiful guardians of the past, their gracefully crumbling facades telling quiet, romantic stories of a time that now rests peacefully in the cool, lengthening shadows of the ornate, heavy wrought-iron balconies. The warm evening breeze dances lazily through the tall, open wooden windows, carrying outward the very faintest, soothing murmur of a life lived entirely and beautifully in the present moment, completely unburdened by the rushing anxieties of tomorrow. Listen closely now, as the hushed, deeply melodic sounds of the Cuban evening begin to slowly weave themselves together in the warm, thick, intoxicating air. Somewhere in the comfortable distance, the low, steady, deeply resonant rumble of a classic, heavy steel engine rolls softly through an empty, narrow colonial street. It is a profound, purring vibration that feels much more like a living, breathing heartbeat than a mechanical machine, echoing softly and rhythmically off the smooth pastel walls. It moves with incredible, dignified slowness, gliding gracefully over the uneven cobblestones with a heavy, deeply anchored presence, its beautifully polished, curved chrome catching the very last, lingering, golden rays of the dying sun. There is a profound, unshakable peace to be found in watching this slow, deliberate motion, a gentle, constant reminder to your weary, traveling mind that there is nowhere else to be, absolutely nothing else you need to do tonight, but simply exist right here, in this beautiful, safely suspended reality. The low, hypnotic sound of the engine eventually fades into a soft, distant, comforting hum, blending completely and seamlessly with the gentle, rhythmic, endless crashing of the warm ocean waves against the long, sweeping stone seawall. The ocean here breathes with you, a slow, steady, magnificent breath, rising up and falling back with an eternal, deeply comforting patience, gently washing away any lingering thoughts or tiny fragments of tension you may have accidentally brought with you from afar. As the vast, open canopy of the sky above you slowly, imperceptibly transitions from a vibrant, glowing burnt orange to a deep, bruised, velvety purple, the entire island seems to let out a collective, peaceful, heavy sigh of relief. The shadows hiding in the narrow alleyways deepen, stretching out and creating soft, highly inviting spaces of cool, quiet darkness where your wandering mind can truly, finally, entirely rest. You are entirely safe here, entirely insulated and blissfully disconnected from the harsh, rushing currents of the chaotic outside world. This island is a sanctuary of absolute, unwavering stillness, a perfectly preserved, magical pocket of time where your heavy soul is allowed to wander freely, safely, through the warm, sweet-smelling Caribbean night. The ancient cobblestones beneath your feet are charmingly uneven, worn perfectly smooth by generations of unhurried, peaceful footsteps, each individual stone holding a quiet, lingering warmth from the day's tropical sun, releasing it slowly, generously, into the cooling evening air. You can almost physically feel the gentle vibration of the island's deep history humming just beneath the surface, a continuous, deeply comforting low frequency that resonates safely within your chest, telling you that everything is exactly as it should be. There is absolutely no urgency in the way the dark shadows stretch across the open plazas, no rush in the way the old, ornate street lamps slowly begin to flicker to life, casting a soft, golden, highly cinematic glow over the sleeping facades of the grand, historic colonial homes. Above you, the distant, gentle, sweeping rustle of giant palm leaves swaying slowly in the cooling night breeze sounds exactly like a soft, ancient, protective lullaby, whispering quiet, comforting secrets to the slowly sleeping, peaceful earth. Allow yourself to sink even deeper now, sinking deeper and deeper into this wonderful, heavy feeling of suspended timelessness, letting the slow, steady, unshakable, magnificent rhythm of the island guide you down, further down, into a state of deep, uninterrupted, deeply healing peace. Our gentle journey together has only just begun, but already, the busy, loud, demanding world you left behind feels millions of miles away, completely lost and happily forgotten in the gentle, sweeping, rhythmic, endlessly peaceful tide of the beautiful Cuban night. As you rest deep within this quiet, hidden haven, the gentle, unseen life of the island begins to slowly unfold around you, arriving not with a sudden, jarring rush, but with the soft, hesitant notes of a distant acoustic guitar. The beautiful melody drifts lazily through the open, heavy wooden shutters, moving as slowly and richly as warm honey pouring from a glass jar, each single string plucked with an infinite, tender patience. It is a slow, deeply comforting song, weaving its way gracefully through the heavy, warm evening air, and settling softly into the very center of your chest. There is absolutely no hurry in this music, only the deep, resonant vibration of aged wood and thick nylon strings, perfectly echoing the steady, relaxed heartbeat of a world completely untouched by the anxieties of time. You can almost feel the music more than you hear it, a gentle, rhythmic pressure against your skin, lulling your tired mind into an even deeper state of serene, undisturbed rest. Slowly, the subtle, intoxicating aromas of the Cuban night begin to layer themselves into the warm atmosphere, greeting your senses with a profound, earthy richness. A deep, wonderfully dark scent of freshly roasted coffee slowly snakes its way down the narrow, shadowed corridor, carrying with it the undeniable promise of absolute, quiet comfort. It is not the sharp, bitter smell of a rushed, modern city morning, but a heavy, luxurious, ancient fragrance, roasted slowly and carefully over an open, softly crackling fire, infused with the sweet, dark essence of the tropical soil itself. This incredibly rich perfume mingles effortlessly with the faint, lingering scent of damp earth and the ever-present, cleansing whisper of ocean salt, creating a deeply grounding aroma that gently tells your physical body it is finally safe to completely let go. Listen carefully now to the rhythmic, incredibly soothing creak of an old, heavy wooden rocking chair, swaying gently back and forth on a smooth, terracotta-tiled porch somewhere in the dark. The sound is wonderfully, peacefully monotonous, a soft, repetitive sigh of aged mahogany gently rubbing against its ancient, well-worn joints. With every slow, measured backward tilt, there is a quiet, familiar squeak, followed immediately by a hushed, satisfying thud as it rocks forward once again. It is the authentic sound of generations of peaceful, completely unhurried evenings, of quiet observers watching the shadows lengthen, of time passing so incredibly slowly you can practically measure it in the sleepy, slow blinks of a stray cat resting nearby in the cool shade. The steady rhythm of the chair naturally aligns with your own, slow breathing, matching your deep inhales and long exhales, guiding you further down into the quiet, heavy embrace of sleep. Drifting quietly beneath these comforting sounds is the incredibly faint, unmistakable aroma of aged, dark rum and crushed, warm sugarcane. It is a wonderfully warm, golden scent that seems to have actually soaked deeply into the very walls of the old colonial buildings over countless decades, evaporating slowly and beautifully into the humid night air. The fragrance is incredibly smooth, carrying a soft hint of natural vanilla, a touch of charred oak wood, and the sticky, slow sweetness of pure molasses that has been baking gently under a tropical sun. It wraps around your senses like a heavy, comforting, invisible blanket, completely softening the sharp edges of your remaining thoughts, making the air itself feel wonderfully thick and rich and incredibly relaxing. You breathe it in deeply, letting the heavy, warm sweetness pull you further and further down, into a state of total, blissful surrender. Somewhere in the heavily shaded, hidden inner courtyard, a light, incredibly warm breeze gently rustles through the broad, waxy leaves of a dormant, ancient banana tree. The ambient sound is exactly like the hushed whisper of heavy silk dragging slowly across a beautifully polished wooden floor, a soft, continuous, sweeping murmur that instantly, effortlessly quiets the endless chattering of an active mind. Carried carefully on this gentle breeze is the intoxicating, completely overwhelming perfume of night-blooming jasmine, a floral scent so incredibly deep and heavy it feels almost physically tangible against your skin. It fills the small courtyard with a romantic, profoundly sleepy sweetness, a natural, incredibly powerful lullaby that has safely and gently guided the weary inhabitants of this island into deep slumber for centuries. The beautiful fragrance is a gentle, unspoken command to your weary body, telling it to completely, absolutely, surrender to the night. Beneath all of these delicate, beautiful sounds and rich scents runs the deep, continuous, incredibly powerful bass line of the nearby, dark ocean. It is definitely not a violent, angry crashing, but a slow, massive, sweeping exhalation of the earth itself. The massive, heavy volume of water rises slowly, gathering its gentle, dark strength, before folding gracefully over onto the soft sand with a deep, resonating, comforting rush. As the water slowly retreats, it pulls millions of tiny, smooth pebbles along with it, creating a soft, extended hissing sound, exactly like a long, slow breath leaving a pair of heavy lungs. This endless, perfect cycle of rising and falling, of gentle tension and complete, utter release, is nature's most perfect, ancient metronome, setting a steady pace that your tired mind cannot help but blindly, happily follow, down, deep down into the beautiful, dark quiet. As the quiet evening fully deepens into true, dark night, the deeply ingrained, communal tradition of the slow walk, the beautiful, unhurried evening stroll, begins to naturally unfold along the long, sweeping stone seawall. Couples and families move together with an incredibly relaxed, wonderfully unhurried gait, their footsteps falling softly and gently out of sync, creating a gentle, random, beautiful percussion that blends perfectly and seamlessly with the incredibly slow, incredibly heavy, rhythmic breathing of the vast, dark ocean. There is absolutely no specific destination in mind, absolutely no urgent need to arrive anywhere at all. The simple, profoundly relaxing act of moving incredibly slowly through the warm, thick night air is entirely enough. Their hushed, deeply melodic, resonant voices, speaking softly in low, incredibly comforting tones, become just another gentle, beautiful layer in the island's incredibly soothing, complex nighttime symphony. You feel as though you are slowly walking right alongside them, completely invisible, entirely at peace, deeply absorbing the profound, collective, heavy calm of a beautiful community that truly, deeply knows how to rest. Allow this profound, ancient cultural slowness to completely, heavily sink into your own tired body now. Feel the incredibly heavy, deeply comforting, slow rhythm of the beautiful island gently replacing your own, naturally slowing your beating heart rate, deepening your every breath, and safely, gently guiding your incredibly heavy consciousness down into the incredibly soft, wonderfully welcoming darkness. The quiet, sleepy island fully holds you now, securely wrapped in its incredibly warm, ancient, beautifully unhurried, heavy embrace. There is absolutely nothing left for you to do tonight, absolutely no problems left to solve, no wandering thoughts left to chase. Only the deep, rich, comforting smell of the warm earth, the incredibly slow, hypnotic, rhythmic sounds of the peaceful night, and the incredibly heavy, beautiful feeling of absolute, total surrender. You are drifting gently away now, safely carried on the incredibly gentle, incredibly slow-moving current of the dark Caribbean night, sinking deeper and deeper into a perfect, heavy, uninterrupted sleep. As the night deepens, the true, quiet cultural heartbeat of the beautiful island begins to slowly reveal itself, not in grand, sweeping, loud gestures, but in the incredibly quiet, profoundly intimate rituals of daily life, passed down smoothly through countless, sun-drenched generations. In the softly lit, deeply shadowed corner of a small, hidden neighborhood plaza, beneath the heavy, protective, sprawling branches of an ancient banyan tree, its massive roots entirely breaking through the smooth, aged pavement, a quiet group of elders gathers slowly around a worn, circular wooden table. They move with a graceful, deeply unhurried dignity, their expressive faces beautifully lined with the rich, deep stories of a long, fully lived, and entirely unhurried life. The only sound in the thick, warm air is the rhythmic, highly hypnotic clatter of smooth, heavy, ivory domino tiles, sliding softly and deliberately across the polished, dark wood. It is a slow, deeply satisfying sound, a steady, comforting, ancient percussion that speaks of deep community, of unbroken, lifelong bonds, and of hours spent simply enjoying the quiet company of old friends, while the warm night air breathes softly around them. Far beyond the city limits, in the quiet, deeply fertile, hidden valleys of the lush countryside, the very soul of the island is deeply rooted in the rich, heavy, rust-colored earth. Here, the passage of time is measured not by the ticking of mechanical clocks, but by the slow, miraculous, silent growth of the velvet-green tobacco plants under the heavy tropical sun. Imagine the deep, profound, cathedral-like silence of the wooden curing barns, where thousands of broad, heavy leaves hang suspended peacefully in the cool, dry darkness, slowly, patiently yielding their sharp, raw green moisture to the incredibly warm, waiting air. The scent locked inside these wooden sanctuaries is incredibly deep, profoundly earthy and intensely intoxicating, a wonderfully rich, complex perfume of dark soil, distant tropical rain, and beautifully patient time. The air in the valley is thick and incredibly heavy, wrapping tightly around your shoulders like a deeply comforting, weighted blanket, drawing you down into a state of absolute, quiet reverence for the slow, meticulous, beautiful work of nature. In a softly lit, quiet room, filled entirely with this intoxicating, deeply earthy aroma, a master craftsman sits entirely focused on his solitary, ancient art. His hands, beautifully weathered and deeply capable, move with a fluid, mesmerizing grace that can only be achieved through decades of quiet, dedicated, unbroken repetition. He works the cured, fragrant leaves with an incredibly gentle, practiced touch, feeling the specific texture and heavy weight of each individual one, listening closely to the soft, delicate, papery whisper they make as they are carefully, lovingly smoothed and expertly rolled into perfect, identical shapes. There is absolutely no rush in his practiced movements, only a deep, profound respect for the delicate materials, and an unwavering, quiet commitment to a beautiful tradition that stubbornly refuses to be hurried by the chaotic modern world. Watching this incredibly slow, deliberate dance of the hands is deeply hypnotic, naturally lulling your tired, wandering mind into a peaceful, highly focused trance, where all other intrusive thoughts simply fall away into the dark. As you wander entirely unseen deeper into the heart of the old, sleeping neighborhood, the comforting, deeply domestic sounds and rich scents of the evening meal begin to drift slowly out from the open, heavily shuttered wooden windows. There is absolutely no frantic, modern rushing in these hidden, warm kitchens, only the slow, loving, deeply traditional preparation of profound nourishment. The rich, deeply savory aroma of crushed garlic slowly roasting in heavy, dark olive oil, mingling harmoniously with the incredibly earthy, deep sweetness of dark black beans simmering incredibly quietly in a thick, heavy, well-worn cast iron pot. The slow, bubbling sound is a soft, rhythmic, deeply comforting, maternal whisper, telling a quiet, ancient story of profound patience, of deeply connected family, and of the simple, profound joy found in actually taking the time to truly care for one another. The incredibly warm, inviting scent completely fills the narrow, shadowed street, wrapping your tired senses in a deeply familiar, heavily maternal embrace, making you feel entirely safe and entirely at home in this quiet, distant land. High above the quiet, uneven cobblestone streets, strung carefully between the beautifully decaying, pastel-colored, wrought-iron balconies, long lines of freshly washed, pale linen gently sway in the slow, cooling, dark ocean breeze. The damp fabric moves with an incredibly heavy, deeply relaxing grace, exactly like the tired sails on a majestic ship that has thankfully found completely safe harbor in perfectly calm, deeply mirrored waters. The incredibly faint, wonderfully clean scent of pure white soap and damp clothes dried purely and slowly by the warm, forgiving tropical sun drifts lazily down into the quiet, heavily shadowed street below. This incredibly simple, everyday sight is profoundly beautiful in its absolute, unwavering stillness, a gentle, highly visual reminder that life here is lived entirely and completely in the present moment, totally unburdened by the unnecessary, heavy complexities of the outside world. The slow, rhythmic, hypnotic swaying of the heavy linen naturally, perfectly matches the gentle rise and fall of your own breathing, pulling you deeper and deeper into a soft, dreamless, heavy peace. Somewhere hidden deep in the quiet, velvety shadows, the soft, incredibly rhythmic sound of a finely sharpened steel blade, gently shaving incredibly thin curls of dark, heavy mahogany, echoes softly from a small, dimly lit artisan's workshop. The solitary woodcarver works with a beautiful, deeply meditative, entirely unbroken focus, slowly, patiently coaxing hidden, elegant shapes out of the heavy, dense, ancient timber. The fragrant, slightly sweet, incredibly rich scent of freshly cut wood shavings mingles effortlessly with the heavy, warm night air, adding yet another incredibly rich, textured layer to the beautiful island's deeply calming, intoxicating perfume. Each single, incredibly slow, deliberate stroke of his finely sharpened tool is a quiet, powerful testament to the incredible, lost value of pure patience, to the profound, quiet beauty of doing absolutely one thing perfectly, and taking all the precious time in the world to do it right. The steady, purely repetitive sound acts as a natural, highly effective, ancient lullaby, gently smoothing out all the frayed, nervous edges of your weary mind, leaving behind only a profound, heavy sense of absolute calm. As you rest safely in the heavy, comforting quiet of the Cuban night, let your mind drift slowly away from the beautifully weathered streets, and journey deeply into the hidden, unseen heart of the island itself. Far beneath the warm, uneven cobblestones, and deep below the sprawling, deeply rooted foundations of the old colonial cities, an entirely different, incredibly secret world exists in absolute, undisturbed silence. Beneath the lush, rolling green hills of the countryside, the earth is beautifully carved from ancient, porous limestone, hiding a vast, magnificent network of underground rivers and submerged, echoing caves. These ancient waterways move with an incredibly slow, deeply profound patience, flowing silently through the absolute darkness, completely untouched by the warm sunlight above. Imagine the incredibly soft, rhythmic sound of a single, heavy drop of pure, filtered water, falling incredibly slowly from the tip of a magnificent stalactite, echoing endlessly through a massive, subterranean stone cathedral. It is the purest, oldest sound on the island, a slow, rhythmic metronome counting the quiet passage of thousands upon thousands of years, naturally pulling your deeply relaxed mind further down into a state of profound, heavy calm. Above ground, hidden deeply within the humid, incredibly lush, dark green foliage of the eastern mountains, rests one of the island's most beautiful, yet rarely seen, quiet wonders. Here, moving with an almost imperceptible, deeply relaxing slowness, are the magnificent painted snails, incredibly delicate creatures carrying tiny, naturally spun masterpieces upon their backs. Their smooth, rounded shells are painted by nature in incredibly vibrant, completely unhurried swirls of deep yellow, soft white, and rich, earthy black, looking exactly like tiny, heavy, polished jewels resting quietly on the dark, damp leaves. They live their entire, deeply peaceful lives at a pace so incredibly slow it almost defies human understanding, completely unbothered by the passing of hours or days. Simply imagining their incredibly slow, deliberate, peaceful journey across a single, dew-covered leaf is profoundly relaxing, a beautiful, quiet reminder that there is absolutely no need to rush, that true, natural beauty often requires an infinite amount of time to fully, perfectly form. As the midnight air grows slightly cooler, and incredibly thick with the rich scent of damp earth, another deeply hidden secret of the island begins its quiet, nightly ritual. Deep in the quietest, most untouched corners of the fragrant valleys, the delicate, incredibly beautiful white mariposa flower, the butterfly jasmine, waits incredibly patiently for the sun to completely disappear. It is a flower that completely rejects the bright, loud demands of the day, choosing instead to slowly, gracefully unfold its heavy, silk-like petals only in the absolute safety of the deep, dark night. As it opens incredibly slowly, it releases a deeply intoxicating, overwhelmingly sweet perfume, a soft, fragrant mist that drifts lazily on the heavy night breeze. This profoundly beautiful, secret bloom is nature's own gentle offering to the darkness, a quiet, hidden miracle that you can only truly appreciate when the entire world has finally, thankfully gone to sleep. Deeper still into the incredibly quiet, heavily shadowed countryside, far away from the warm, flickering yellow glow of the small town street lamps, the island reveals a breathtaking, mesmerizing display of quiet, natural synchronization. In the incredibly still, heavy air of the remote valleys, thousands of tiny, glowing fireflies rise slowly from the damp, sweet-smelling grass. At first, they blink softly and randomly, like tiny, floating embers from a dying, peaceful fire. But slowly, incredibly slowly, they begin to match each other's quiet, glowing rhythm, until the entire, dark valley pulses softly with a single, unified, deeply hypnotic heartbeat of pale, cool light. It is an incredibly silent, deeply magical performance, a slow, rhythmic brightening and fading that beautifully mimics the heavy, tired rise and fall of your own deep breathing. Watching this incredibly slow, beautifully synchronized pulse of light in your mind's eye is profoundly soothing, washing away absolutely every last, lingering trace of tension, leaving you feeling completely, entirely weightless. Above this magnificent, quietly glowing valley, stretches a night sky so incredibly dark, and so profoundly clear, that it feels as though you could simply reach out and touch the ancient, cold starlight. Without the harsh, distracting glare of the modern world, the vast, sweeping arm of the Milky Way is fully visible, a heavy, majestic river of soft, glowing silver dust pouring incredibly slowly across the deep, velvet blackness of the universe. Looking up into this endless, incredibly quiet expanse, you realize just how perfectly small and how wonderfully safe you truly are in this specific, beautiful moment. The incredible, heavy silence of the cosmos presses down gently, wonderfully against the warm, deeply sleeping island, sealing it completely within a protective, unbreakable bubble of absolute peace. Every single, hidden secret of this beautiful land, from the incredibly slow underground rivers to the softly pulsing light of the silent valleys, is working exactly together, wrapping you in a deeply comforting, endlessly heavy slumber, guiding you safely and gently down into the beautiful, dark quiet. As you float safely, entirely peacefully on the very edge of deep sleep, let your weary mind slowly, effortlessly expand, stretching out far beyond the quiet, deeply shadowed cobblestone streets and the sleeping, incredibly fragrant valleys. Imagine, for a quiet moment, the sheer, magnificent, breathtaking scale of this ancient, deeply grounded island, resting exactly like a beautifully sleeping, massive emerald giant, perfectly and safely cradled in the endlessly deep, warm, velvety blue of the vast Caribbean Sea. From high, incredibly high above, the island stretches out incredibly slowly, a long, elegant, unbroken curve of lush, dark green mountains and deeply weathered, ancient stone, gently dividing the heavy, slow-moving, dark ocean currents. It is a profoundly isolated, perfectly protected natural sanctuary, completely surrounded by thousands upon thousands of miles of incredibly deep, silent, heavy water. This vast, incredibly heavy ocean acts as a magnificent, ancient, natural barrier, a deep, dark blue velvet curtain that safely, completely keeps the frantic, rushing, overwhelming noise of the modern continents far, far away, allowing this beautiful stretch of land to quietly, peacefully exist, entirely and wonderfully within its own, unhurried, perfectly suspended rhythm. You can almost physically feel the immense, deeply comforting weight of that surrounding water, holding the sleeping island incredibly still, anchoring it safely in the absolute, unbreakable quiet of the deep tropical night. Rising incredibly slowly from this lush, sleeping, peaceful landmass are the magnificent, beautifully ancient peaks of the dark eastern mountains. They are incredibly old, deeply folded, silent giants of heavy stone and rich, dark earth, draped completely and lovingly in a thick, heavy, velvety blanket of ancient, endlessly sleeping tropical forests. For countless, incredibly quiet, undocumented centuries, these massive, beautiful mountains have stood exactly like this, serving as silent, utterly patient, profoundly strong guardians of the hidden, deeply fertile valleys resting safely below. They are so incredibly immense, so profoundly, undeniably heavy, that they seem to actually, physically slow down the very clouds that drift lazily and softly across their jagged, beautifully shadowed, moonlit peaks. The deep, heavy, absolute silence that rests permanently upon these incredibly high, isolated, dark ridges is beautifully absolute, a pure, ancient, unbroken quiet that has never, ever been truly disturbed by the frantic, chaotic rush of human progress. Just picturing the immense, unwavering, profound stillness of these ancient mountains naturally and gently anchors your own tired, wandering mind, making your physical body feel wonderfully heavy, entirely, perfectly safe, and deeply, permanently grounded in the quiet, supportive earth. Standing incredibly quietly along the ragged, deeply weathered, beautiful coastline are the massive, beautifully crumbling stone fortresses of a long, incredibly quiet, gracefully forgotten history. Built incredibly slowly, stone by incredibly heavy stone, beautifully cut by hand centuries upon centuries ago, these magnificent, incredibly thick walls were originally designed to stand strong against the fierce, raging storms of the vast open sea. But now, under the soft, gentle, heavily romantic glow of the midnight moon, they have completely and gracefully surrendered their ancient martial purpose, becoming nothing more than beautiful, deeply silent, incredibly peaceful monuments to the profoundly slow passage of time. The heavy, incredibly warm ocean breeze, carrying the incredibly faint, ancient, comforting scent of old sea salt and deep, silent history, glides smoothly and gently over the rounded, deeply worn, cooling edges of the sleeping, rusted iron cannons. You can almost feel the incredible, slow, profound weight of the centuries slowly settling gently down onto the cool, dark, highly textured stone, a profound, incredibly heavy peacefulness that silently, gently promises that absolutely everything eventually rests, everything eventually finds its quiet, deeply peaceful end. Let the ancient, heavy silence of these beautiful ruins naturally seep into your own, deeply tired bones, softly telling you that it is finally, truly time to completely lay down your own defenses, and simply, beautifully rest. It is entirely within this deeply beautiful, naturally isolated, profoundly safe geography, that a profoundly unique, incredibly gentle, highly beautiful suspension of time has perfectly and permanently taken root. The beautiful, heavy, flawlessly curved classic cars resting entirely quietly in the heavily shadowed, narrow colonial streets, the beautifully decaying, perfectly faded pastel facades of the grand old homes, they are definitely not simply surviving remnants of a bygone, forgotten decade. They are the very physical, beautiful manifestation of an entire island that collectively, peacefully decided to completely stop rushing endlessly forward. Here, the mid-20th century simply laid down, closed its incredibly tired, weary eyes, and peacefully, happily went to deep sleep, perfectly and beautifully preserved forever in the warm, heavy, incredibly sweet amber of the tropical climate. There is a profound, incredibly deep, maternal comfort in truly knowing that there is absolutely no rush here to catch up with the rest of the frantically spinning, noisy world, absolutely no urgent, heavy pressure to constantly, endlessly, exhaustingly change. The absolute, heavy, unbroken stillness of this beautifully preserved era naturally wraps around your tired shoulders like a thick, comforting, highly familiar, heavy blanket, gently whispering that you are exactly, perfectly where you are supposed to be. And finally, wrapping entirely and seamlessly around all of this ancient, beautiful history, all of these incredibly heavy, sleeping mountains, and beautifully frozen, sleeping cities, is the endless, incredibly heavy, perfectly rhythmic breathing of the magnificent, dark ocean. The deeply sweeping, invisible currents that gently, softly lap against the quiet, dark Cuban shores have traveled incredibly slowly for thousands upon thousands of miles, carrying the deep, ancient, wonderfully silent memories of the vast, open, peaceful deep. When these heavy, dark, incredibly slow waves finally, gently break upon the soft, cool, yielding sand, they are beautifully delivering a quiet, profound, ancient message of eternal, absolutely unbroken patience. It is an incredibly slow, perfectly endless, profoundly hypnotic cycle of rising, silently gathering, and gracefully, entirely releasing, over and over and over again, perfectly and beautifully matching the slow, heavy, deep rhythm of a tired world deeply and perfectly at rest. Allow the immense, completely unfathomable, highly comforting scale of this beautiful, sleeping island, and the vast, incredibly quiet, completely endless ocean that so gently holds it, to completely, entirely absorb your heavy, weary mind. You are safely, peacefully floating now, on the very edge of an incredibly deep, endless, beautiful slumber, gently held by the slow, magnificent, deeply peaceful turning of the ancient earth. And finally, perfectly, endlessly wrapping entirely around all of these deep, comforting secrets, and all of these massive, sleeping mountains, and beautifully frozen, silent cities, is the immense, eternal, incredibly powerful baseline of the magnificent, dark ocean. The massive, deeply sweeping, slow currents that gently, softly lap against the long, sweeping stone seawall of Havana, they have traveled incredibly slowly for thousands upon thousands of miles, carrying the incredibly deep, ancient, wonderfully quiet memories of the vast, open, peaceful deep. As these massive, slow waves rise, gathering their gentle, dark strength, before graceful folding over onto the soft, cool, yielding sand, they are beautifully delivering a quiet, profound, ancient message of eternal, absolutely unbroken patience. It is an incredibly slow, perfectly endless, profoundly hypnotic cycle of rising, silently gathering, and gracefully, entirely releasing, over and over and over again, perfectly and beautifully matching the slow, heavy, deep, comforting rhythm of a tired world deeply and perfectly at rest. Allow the immense, completely unfathomable, highly comforting scale of this beautiful, sleeping ocean to completely, entirely absorb your heavy, weary mind. You are safely, peacefully floating now, on the very edge of an incredibly deep, endless, beautiful slumber, gently held by the slow, magnificent, deeply peaceful turning of the ancient earth. The gentle night is deeply, wonderfully calling you now, guiding your incredibly heavy consciousness down into the profound, perfect, limitless dark of an uninterrupted sleep. The sleepy, beautiful island fully holds you now, securely wrapped in its incredibly warm, ancient, beautifully unhurried, heavy embrace. All the long, dusty roads of your long, difficult journey have finally, safely, wonderfully led you to this specific point of total, blissful stillness. Every single story has been told, every rich sensory memory beautifully captured, every heavy burden happily and finally laid down in the dark tropical soil. There is absolutely nothing left for you to do tonight, absolutely no problems left to solve, no wandering, weary thoughts left to frantically chase. Only the deep, rich, comforting smell of the warm earth, the incredibly slow, hypnotic, rhythmic sounds of the peaceful Cuban night, and the incredibly heavy, beautiful feeling of absolute, total surrender. Good night, weary traveler. Good night, beautiful soul. Close your incredibly tired eyes now, and drift gently away, further and further down, into the beautiful, dark, limitless quiet. Allow your weary mind, entirely, beautifully unburdened now by the vast, historic scale of the distant island, to slowly, effortlessly drift backward, pulling gently away from the magnificent, sleeping emerald coastline, and the incredibly heavy, deep rhythmic swell of the surrounding, dark Caribbean Ocean. Imagine the profound, comforting, heavy stillness of a beautifully suspended present moment, softly and perfectly replacing the endless, rushing stream of time, wrapping your entire being in a thick, warm, incredibly safe velvet darkness. The clock that endlessly, frantically ticks away the busy, noisy modern hours is absolutely, entirely broken here tonight, its restless hands happily surrendered to a deep, beautiful, timeless slumber, perfectly preserved in the warm, heavy amber of the gentle tropical night. All around you is only an infinite, unbreakable, deeply grounding calm, an eternal, quiet sanctuary where the soul is allowed to simply, quietly, exist, completely free from the exhausting, heavy demands of tomorrow. There is absolutely nowhere else to go tonight, nothing else you need to perform or solve, only the incredibly profound, beautiful, heavy quiet of a beautiful island entirely at rest, holding you safely, gently, within its warm, ancient, loving embrace. As the midnight hour softly transitions into the silent, velvety depth of absolute dark, watch the very last, incredibly faint, pale yellow lights that were perhaps still flickering very quietly in the most distant, tiny village homes, slowly, gently extinguish one by one. The incredibly thick, deeply comforting blanket of warm, tropical shadows has finally, completely, perfectly claimed the entire landscape, from the incredibly lush, rolling green mountains to the narrow, sleeping cobblestone streets of the old, forgotten colonial cities. The ancient, wonderfully weathered buildings painted in soft, faded pastel hues, they have entirely closed their heavy wooden shutters against the soft evening air, their grand, ornate facades happily and quietly dissolving entirely into the surrounding, protective, deep purple darkness. The entire, beautiful island, its proud history, its incredible, natural beauty, its beautifully unhurried, gentle people, they are all now deeply, perfectly, entirely at sleep, and you are resting with them, safely anchored in the shared, beautiful, comforting stillness of this incredible, forgotten land. The gentle warmth of the earth, radiating upwards through the dark soil, speaks of ancient, unbroken, eternal peace, a profound, physical comfort that completely relaxes your weary body. Listen very closely now to the incredibly subtle, deeply melodic, resonant sounds of absolute, perfect tranquility. The slow, rhythmic, highly hypnotic swaying of the giant royal palm leaves in the incredibly cool, refreshing night breeze. It sounds exactly like the softest, most gentle, most perfect exhalation of a truly peaceful world. This ancient, whispering lullaby is the incredibly pure, untouched heartbeat of the island, perfectly echoing the steady, relaxed, deeply comfortable rhythm of your own breathing. Feel the incredibly heavy, deeply satisfying weight of this beautiful serenity, pressing gently, wonderfully against your physical body, grounding your floating consciousness, and safely, surely guiding you down, deeper and deeper, into a state of total, blissful, uninterrupted release. The profound, incredible quiet of the Cuban night is not an empty, hollow silence, but a deeply rich, textured, incredibly comforting presence, entirely enveloping you, sealing you safe and warm inside a perfect, magical, unbreakable bubble of absolute, eternal calm. The deep, complicated, earthy perfumes of the fragrant night have slowly, gently softened and transformed, becoming an incredibly faint, wonderfully familiar, deeply maternal scent of clean, sun-dried linen, and the wonderfully fresh, purifying aroma of ocean-filtered night air. This incredibly smooth, pure fragrance fills the quiet, shadowed space around you, completely and totally refreshing your weary, tired senses with a profound, quiet purity. Each single, slow, incredibly deep inhale draws this pure, cleansing calm directly into the very center of your physical body, where it lovingly and gently unknots every last, tiny remaining fiber of mental tension, washing away every lingering, intrusive thought. Let this incredible, cleansing fragrance entirely, perfectly guide you forward, pulling you further and further down, into the incredibly soft, wonderfully welcoming, limitless embrace of a truly deep and magnificent slumber. You are entirely safe, entirely insulated, entirely protected in this beautiful, unhurried, perfect reality. Somewhere hidden very deeply in the infinitely far distance, the ancient, beautiful stones of the magnificent fortresses, they are now radiating the very last, incredibly faint, comforting remnants of the day's warm, intense tropical sun. The incredible, slow passage of the centuries, it truly rests very comfortably upon these massive, beautiful, crumbling walls, a profound, entirely unspoken promise of an absolutely certain, eventual rest for everyone, and absolutely everything. Time here, on this beautiful island, it has not simply slowed down, it has truly, entirely dissolved into an endless, deeply satisfying, peaceful loop of beautifully remembered quiet moments. There is absolutely no urgency here, no heavy pressure to rush endlessly, frantically catch up with the frantically spinning, noisy world beyond the dark water. Only the deep, profound, wonderful comfort of truly knowing that the beautiful, unhurried present moment is entirely and completely enough. Allow this ancient, heavy, deeply profound island slowness to completely, wonderfully replace your own hurried rhythm, effortlessly deepening your breathing, and slowing your tired beating heart, gently preparing you for total, blissful surrender.